When it comes to the story of the 3 Kansas City Chiefs fans found frozen, I don't like that they keep being referred to as the 3 Kansas City Chiefs fans. These are 3 men who passed away, men who have families that love them, and I do believe that Ricky Johnson has children. So since I will be covering this story, I am going to start referring to them by name out of respect. Because if anything happened to me, I don't want to be referred to as just that Philadelphia Eagles fan. The families, especially the parents of these 3 young men who passed away, are just as confused as everybody else because they have been left in the dark. They are not given any information whatsoever, and the only information that they are given are coming straight from Jordan Willis's lawyer, Picerno. And that's not good because the lawyer is only meant to represent the defendant. These families keep hearing conflicting information. Jordan Willis was asleep for 2 hours on the couch. No, he was asleep in his bed. He saw his friends off and then he went to bed. No, he was actually up with his friends watching Jeopardy. Jordan Willis left the house. Oh no, I didn't mean to say that. I meant he left his bedroom and then he went back to bed. The families were frantically trying to reach out to me, but they were only trying to reach out to me through Facebook Messenger. But then we have this 5th friend that's stating, well, they called me. They sent me regular text, so why didn't they do the same for you? So these people that really want factual information are just getting nothing but conflicting information. And all they have to rely on is just speculation. And these parents, some of these parents do believe that Jordan Willis drugged their children. The father of Ricky Johnson even believes that he saw something that he should not have seen, and that Jordan Willis slipped them all something in their drinks to make sure they would never speak on what they saw. Whether Jordan Willis is innocent or guilty, because as of right now, yes, he is innocent. He is an innocent man until they prove he is guilty. But you have to remember these families, with all this conflicting information they're given from the actual source, from his lawyer, all they have is speculation. If all you're feeding me is BS, well then I'm going to think you're up to some BS. Now, everything in this story, and I mean everything, is depending on the toxicology report. Because if these 3 men do not have any narcotics in their system, somebody has to explain how 3 men who are right in the backyard of a house just freeze. Every weather report that I have seen during that time, around 12 a.m., the weather was in the 30s. Where I am from in New Jersey, the 30s, people still rock t-shirts and shorts, and they'll be out in the snow for hours, or the cold for hours. And I just can't buy the fact that as somebody that has been plastered before, plastered beyond recognition, I just can't buy the fact that even if they were drunk, that they didn't know that they were facing hypothermia. Now, I don't want to put any words in any of the family members' mouths, especially the parents. So I am going to play a very interesting interview between News Nation and the mother of David Harrington. You're going to pick up on some very interesting things that she says, and I'm going to go ahead and play that video now.
Who are understandably devastated. Joining me now exclusively is Jennifer Marquez. She is David Harrington's mom. Jennifer, thank you for doing this, and I am so sorry that we're meeting under these circumstances. What have the police told you, if anything?
They haven't told me anything. I spoke with the detective today, and he didn't release any information to me. I asked him a few questions, and I told him some things that I had heard from people that were David's friends, and he seemed interested in some things, but they did not give me any information. And it took me 3 calls to get anybody to call me back today. And that was the first time I'd spoken with anybody since about a week and a half now.
What did they tell you about Jordan Willis? Because they've spoken to him. They're not telling us what Jordan Willis has said, but did they say anything to you about what Jordan Willis said?
No, they have not said anything about what Jordan has said. The only things that I've heard are what his lawyer has said on the news. I have not heard a single thing from him or from the police about him. The reports I get are strictly from news.
So the detective never said anything like Jordan's story adds up or anything like that?
Well, yeah, 2 weeks ago, right when I found out, there was a police officer that I spoke to. I think it was the day after I found out what happened. I had called to ask what I was supposed to be doing. And an officer that I spoke to in the morning, when I was talking to him, he said that they were allowed to go in the night that they were called to Jordan's house, and that they looked around, and that they took Jordan in and they talked to him, and that his story added up. And he hesitated for a minute and said, I'm not really allowed to go into very much, but when it's all released, it's going to make sense. And I thought, how could that make sense? It's only, in my perspective, it was only 2 days after I found out, or a day after I found out. So only a couple days after they saw my son.
They seem to think that something might make sense, which makes me wonder they maybe spotted something when they were in the home that night. Did the detective who talked to you tell you anything about what he saw inside the home? Like what was on the coffee table? Was there any drug paraphernalia? Anything that made him jump to that whole idea that it will make sense?
No, he didn't say anything, and it didn't sit well with me what he said, so I called back and talked to, at that time, the main detective that I had been told to talk to, and she somewhat corrected what he said. She said that they were still investigating everything, nothing was determined, that she couldn't tell me anything, but that they hadn't stopped with the investigation. And that's pretty much what the detective told me today, is that they were still looking. And with some of the things that I told him that I'd heard, he seemed a little interested that there were things that he had not heard. And
what
I
things?
feel like...
What sort of things?
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say.
Did it have to do with anyone else in this? Did it have to do with anybody else in this story? Meaning there were 5 men who were together that night. One left at midnight, he says. The other was the homeowner, and the 3 victims included your son. Did the detective suggest there might be anybody else involved in at play?
No, it was basically all about Jordan, the conversation. And the person that left early, I've spoken with him, and we had a discussion, and I know that he's telling the truth, that he left early, and that when he left, my son was alive, and he is torn up. He's devastated. He lost 3 of his friends that night, and he wishes that he had stayed or could have done something, but when he left, everything was fine. And so that person has nothing to do with what happened. It's between Jordan and my son and the 2 others, Clayton and Ricky.
So David Harrington's mother stated that the detective spoke to her and said, once everything is released, it will all make sense. Now, nothing has made sense so far when it comes to this case, when it comes to this story. But the only thing I am thinking is that this detective is possibly banking on a toxicology report. But my thing is, how would Jordan know that to tell that to the police? Because his excuse is that he saw his friends off and he went to bed. He doesn't know what happened to these men. So how would he know to tell the police that narcotics were involved? These men took narcotics and they collapsed. So since supposedly anyway, Jordan does not know what happened to these men after he went to bed and he told them that they could stay there, the only thing that Jordan is telling police that we've heard from the lawyer anyway is that Jordan was asleep for over 2 days. And the last thing that Jordan remembers is that he was seeing his friends off. So if this is what Willis's lawyer is telling us, then this is what Willis told the police. And for a lot of us, this makes no sense whatsoever. Now, as regards the families being kept in the dark, it sounds like these families are not being told anything. Now, I don't know the law, but I have heard before that law enforcement, those that are working in on a case, investigators, really do not tell families anything. When you go back to the Idaho 4 case, the parents of the Idaho 4 know just as much as the general public. They do know some things, a little bit more than the general public, but overall, they're pretty much kept in the dark just like the public. But these families here are completely left in the dark, especially since police are not investigating this as a crime, since they don't believe a crime has taken place here. Matter of fact, in the beginning of this interview, David Harrington's mother stated that the police told her that they don't even believe narcotics had taken place here. So if this toxicology report comes back clean, then this story goes from mysterious to downright scary. So there is some conflicting information, like I said, when it comes to the weather. There are some people that are saying that they are from Kansas City, it was negative weather, but the weather sites, they are reporting that it was in the 30s. But I was surprised to learn that even weather in the 30s is very dangerous, that hypothermia can happen anywhere between 30 and 50 degrees. So I can absolutely see hypothermia happening. And it would make a lot more sense if these men were trapped somewhere, if they couldn't get out and they were stuck in 30-degree weather. But given the fact they were just in the backyard of their friend's house, they could have just gone right back inside. Had the door been locked, they could have broke it down. These are some big men. They could have broke a window. Did none of them have their cell phones on them? Did none of them have a jacket as they were heading out back? Yes, once again, we are only speculating, but these families, they feel the same exact way. They don't feel like they are getting any accurate information. You're telling me that drugs were not involved, that these 3 men froze, my child froze, but they were just in the backyard. They could have gone back in. Did they have their jackets on them? Did they have their cell phones? Why are you not giving me any information if a crime did not take place here? Now, when it goes to the part where Miss Marquez says that I told him some things that surprised him because he didn't hear these things, I'm guessing that Jordan Willis never told these detectives or investigators that there was a 5th friend. Because as this 5th friend started to talk, a lot of what the lawyer is saying is starting to change. Now, Miss Marquez 100% believes that this 5th friend had done nothing wrong, is not involved in any wrongdoings when it comes to these 3 men. Personally, me, I would not rule out anybody or anything just yet, but she does feel confident that this 5th friend has done nothing wrong. This is not me saying that this 5th friend is guilty of anything. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that now that this 5th friend has been giving his side of the story, there is 2 pieces of conflicting information that is going on between Willis and this 5th friend. Now, I also happened to hear something else in this interview that really perked my ears up, because I read something in an article about this 5th mysterious friend. This 5th mysterious friend had said something that kind of has me thinking, because when this 5th mysterious friend was first mentioned, that there was this extra person, this man stated and also stressed that he was not the last person to see Harrington, Johnson, and McGeeney alive before they froze. Kind of weird wording. He could be referring to Jordan, but it's kind of weird to phrase it that way. Was there somebody else also there? This interviewer is also asking the same exact thing. Maybe there was another person there and they can't go into details. Because for a couple weeks, we only thought it was just them 4. until about 2 to 3 weeks later, we found out that a fifth person was at this location. My heart absolutely breaks for these families because they are not getting any concrete information from an incident that was not a crime, and they lost their loved ones. Yes, we want to wait for the toxicology report, but put yourself in their shoes. They're trying to come up with anything that makes sense because everything they're told is just conflicting information and things that really don't make much sense. But in any case, I do want to hear from you. Please comment in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.